Hey everybody, welcome back to Breeder Reptiles. My name is Garrett Hartle, and in this week's video, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with the industry's best caging manufacturers, for professionals that is. That's Freedom Breeder. And even though they're the best, I don't think it's good enough, and I'll tell you exactly why. Here's the deal. Now, Freedom Breeder is the original rack building company, and the funny thing about it is there's always a debate, okay? Now, these guys are the best. They've been the best. I hope they'll continue to be the best. But this stack right here, I don't know if you can see, there's 1, 2, 3 racks, and I've got a combination of some bigger tubs for some grow-ups, and then this is the stuff that I would keep my hatchlings in, something about this size. In a lot of the videos, every time somebody sees that I am keeping an animal in a tub, I get the comment, oh, that's a terrible way to keep animals. Then a few weeks ago, maybe it's been a month or so, I do a video about how to set up just a nice semi-naturalistic enclosure using commonly found products from, you know, like your local reptile specialty store. It's cool to be able to pick this stuff up, and you don't have to be able to be like a DIYer or make the stuff yourself. You can just order all of these things, assemble it, and be ready for, you know, say for example, your baby super dwarf. I make that video, and you will see people say, that's the worst way you could keep an animal. So here we have this argument, okay, between keeping animals in tubs and professional rack systems and keeping animals in like kind of a semi-naturalistic, you could go fully naturalistic, you know, those bioactive substrates are all the rage these days. Okay, I've been experimenting with cages such as this one right here that's kind of in between. It's got that sterile environment, but it still has, you know, you can see there's obviously a huge shelf, lots of perching, and a little bit more natural way for the animals to exist like that. Now, Freedom Breeder, I love you guys, and I hope you're watching this, all right? Especially you, Lindy, and Jesse, I know we've been talking about this kind of stuff, so here it is, I wanna lay it out on the line. These racks were originally designed and built for keeping rodents in a commercial setup, okay? They need the dark hiding places and stuff like that. When the ball python rage took over in the 90s, ball pythons live in an environment that rodents love. They basically live in subterranean enclosures, and so systems like this allow you to have lots of ball pythons and to be able to house them well. Now, advocates of the tubs will say that it's easier to control temperature and humidity. It's easier to keep the enclosures clean, like Aiden is doing right here. Aiden, want to say what's up?
When it comes to cleaning cages, it's a huge advantage to be able to pull the whole entire bottom out, walk away, and clean it. But for the animal, it's so two-dimensional.
But we have this kind of cage over here, which would be, you'd have to get something custom built to have something like this. And I would argue that the snakes like those better. What do you think?
Yeah, they definitely do like those cages better, but then they have to go inside the cage.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta climb inside there and clean it out. What is it about the cage that they like better? I mean, it's still a plastic cage.
There's a lot more room for them, and they can climb.
Okay, so it's the height. It's the height. And that's the thing, guys. And it's not so much maybe Freedom Breeder's problem. It's kind of an industry problem that we have rodent enclosures modified to keep reptiles who live similarly to rodents, and it works pretty well. I gotta say, if you're keeping ball pythons, these work pretty well. You gotta remember, guys, we're talking about two different styles here. You can have the nice naturalistic enclosure, but if you have 200 of those, it isn't practical to keep the animals healthy. And if you would argue, well then, why does anyone need 200 snakes? Ask yourself, where did your pet snake come from? Probably somebody who was breeding them. For us, we work with 7 different dwarf and super dwarf localities, as well as a few other animals that include morphs or specialty localities, so that we can breed them in, keep those bloodlines strong, and keep the animals we sell you guys absolute top notch. Now, there isn't anything inherently wrong with a tub. Oh, Aiden, how could you let this cage get so dirty?
Today's cleaning day.
So here we have a young little Superdorf animal, and if I were to stretch her out, you could see the extreme length of this tub. This tub is about 1.5 times the length of this animal. Okay, so if you have a snake, let's say you have an 8-foot boa, this would be the equivalent of a 12-foot long enclosure. I would say that's certainly sufficient. Okay, she has a hide area, she can perch up here, clean water, and a substrate that's easy to pull out and clean. The nice thing is I can pull this tub and sterilize it and keep those snakes clean and happy. Now here's the issue. The height is sufficient for her to be able to climb up. I could even use a taller perch if I had them. And she can climb up and get some elevation that's going to give her multiple levels of heat and the ability to kind of stalk their prey, get some exercise. It'd be cool to throw some perches in there, but they do start to outgrow that height. So when we move from a cage like this to a cage, let's say like this, they're not getting any more height. Now this is a much larger enclosure. It's double the size of these, and so it can house a larger animal, but they no longer have the ability, you know, this snake in this cage is like this tall, and it has all this height. This snake in this cage is about this tall. As you've all seen, unfortunately, people keeping like large semi-arboreal animals like reticulated pythons in pull-out drawer systems that are only, I don't know, maybe 9 inches tall. So we have half of the reptile industry arguing that a taller, more naturalistic environment is better because it gives them the mental stimulation they need. It gives them a whole variety of options with which they can utilize and display more natural behaviors. Down to the root of it, basically, if you're going with a semi-naturalistic setup, you're tending more to the animal's needs. Even though it might be more difficult to hit those parameters, with a little time, money, and creativity, you can hit it and come up with something that is perfect for the animal in this type of setup, but it's a lot harder on the keeper. And then here, if you have a commercialized setup, you can really nail exactly what is right for the keeper. Like Aiden over here, he's got his little water bowl set in place. You can just pop a new one in there. It allows us to keep them clean and sterile. Throw a piece of paper, cut a hole in there, good to go. The heat is automatic. You set it and forget it. The way that they have these things wired up is fantastic. But you're sacrificing any ability for those animals to really display all those natural behaviors, have that mental stimulation. And even though these cages can keep the animals healthy, it's actually more keeper-centric. And I just don't understand why it has to be a us, keepers, versus them, animals mentality. Freedom Breeder, you guys are the geniuses. You're the engineers. I challenge you to come up with something that is better for the animals and better for the keeper than anything that we have on the market. If anyone's gonna do it, it's you guys. My experimental one over here, where they have the height and the perches and everything like that, but it had a tub to pull out on the bottom. Freedom Breeder had made something like this decades ago. And I think where you and I have failed is that we didn't pay for it. If everyone had bought those things, then the industry as we know it, 2 decades later, would have an entirely different landscape. So this is the thing, Freedom Breeder, you make it, I'll buy it. Let's get this done, guys. Lindy, Jesse, Freedom Breeder, please, let's get this done, and I'll pay for it. And those of you guys who are viewing, if you can help this out, help me show Freedom Breeder that this is a good idea that you can get behind. Click the like button, share the link to this video, send them messages, Jesse at Freedom Breeder, Lindy at freedombreeder.com. Let's band together and tell them that the industry is ready for a change. I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is if you guys are willing to help me spread the word.
Since these snakes are semi-arboreal, they need more room to climb.
If you think you guys have a better idea or a way to go about ending for once and for all the debate of glass cages versus plastic cages, comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. We'll catch you guys next week. Time to get back to work, especially you, Aiden.
Yeah.